Back of the Pack Ultra Guy here. This one is much anticipated. Dakota and I spent this past Saturday together, actually climbing Mount Eldon up in Flagstaff, which never disappoints. It's actually only the second time I've done it. So Dakota's got plenty up on me on that one, but it was a lot of fun to spend some time in person with Dakota. So this week's guest, without further ado, is Dakota Goosby. And Dakota, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. A lot of people follow you on Instagram. I've had a lot of people reach out when we did our little sneak peek and say, hey, please let me know when this comes out. They're super excited. So diving right in, Dakota, if you just want to introduce yourself, let us know where you grew up and kind of how you found your way into athletics and then the world of ultra.
Yeah, so my name's Dakota Goosby, and otherwise known as Coda Runs on pretty much every social media platform. As far as athletics, that was just a part of my life from like some of my earliest memories. So I don't even know, maybe whenever I was 5, I was playing baseball, and that's some of probably the first sports I ever played. And I was a little bitty kid, probably not even in kindergarten yet, just getting down, I guess, hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. And then whenever I got older, a little older, not too much, maybe like pee wee football, whatever age that was, I got into football, and then those two sports continued to be a part of my life all the way up until I was 18 years old. And then I didn't get any scholarships or anything like that, so that was kind of the end of it. But I did find myself always like craving something, like being a part of something again. And for me, for a while, it was like snowboarding, and I just knew like I couldn't. I need to be careful about like what I chose, because I was like, I can't really do a team sport. I need something where it's like something I can do in my free time. And yeah, for a while it was snowboarding, and then snowboarding was only in the winter. So
Hmm.
then I was looking for something to do in the summer, and mountain biking was a thought. But to be honest, mountain biking, it's kind of ironic how this works out. But mountain biking, I was like, it's too expensive. And I was like, running, all I need is a pair of shoes. And now I realize that that is true, technically, probably, but once you really get into it, it's like you need shoes and you want that watch and you want, all this other stuff. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how the ultra running journey started. Is I just started kind of thinking about running my first 5K, and I guess the TikTok algorithm maybe realized that I was a little crazy or something. But whenever I was looking up running stuff, Andrew Glaze popped up on my TikTok, and that was right before I think he ran the Arizona Monster 300, and then the Cocodona immediately after. And initially, I was like watching his content, being amazed, like, how is this even possible? This is crazy. It's like David Goggins, and then I worked at the hospital at the time, and the Cocodona course comes up underneath, like basically in between the two buildings of the hospital. And I just got to see so many people finishing, and just it's something planted a seed in me, seeing these people finish, and it inspired me to not only think I might could do it, but also to be comfortable with the fact that like even if I fall short like this year or this time coming up, that I can continue to do it, because I saw so many people of all ages that it was a part of their journey. And it was like, maybe I fall short this year, but this year won't be the last. And it can be something that I can do for literally the rest of my life. Um, so that was really the inspiration of like getting into ultra running, and the Cocodona specifically was that thought of, really, there's not a true failure in this, because in my mind I'm not gonna fail. Like, it's not failure if you don't quit. So that was really the driving force or the why behind it, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. So you are doing snowboarding and
Mhm.
realize like, oh, I can't do this all year round. Let me find my other sport. So you start to get into running because it's inexpensive. Everyone's laughing at that because we all know it's not, but we all tell ourselves it is. But and you said you started out with a 5K. Were you in Flagstaff when you started your running journey and finding that first 5K?
Yeah, so actually the first I had maybe like I had dabbled in saying I was going to run a 5K before, and like I had done maybe once or twice before, like the couch to 5K plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I never like saw it all the way through. I don't know. The motivation was just different at that time. And so I can't say it was like my first pair of running shoes ever, but I bought my first pair of running shoes in like the past 5 years, the day that Andy Glaze finished the 250, because we were in Heritage Square, we're waiting for people to finish, and I'm like, well, Run Flagstaff's right down the road. I'm gonna go buy just a good pair of like daily shoes that I can start running with, and that was the like essentially day one. And then the true day one was whatever day I posted that video. It wasn't too far after that. And that was the true day one, like the first day I actually ran. And
Right
then
on.
I'm losing track of all the dates, but I think it might have been a month or two after whenever I ran my first race, which was actually a 6K. So it's a little bit more than a 5K, but not much.
Well, it one thing that Aravaipa has done with Cocodona is they've made it so accessible for people, and what I mean by that is to view it, to experience it. I mean, you Cocodona Week, you just can't avoid it, and that's I'm talking about on the internet. You're in Flagstaff. There's no way you're avoiding Cocodona.
Yeah.
I mean, it's especially like you said, you work by the hospital. The course goes right by it. Heritage Square's right close to. I mean, there's no way you're getting around it, unfortunately. Sorry, people of Flagstaff that week, because I'm sure it adds a little bit of craziness to it. But they've done such a good job bringing that out and making it infectious. And I've heard that from a lot of people that they saw something online and it just kind of sparked something within them. But you're so close to that epicenter. I imagine that was a really powerful pull, like seeing the actual people going to the finish and that spirit, that infectious spirit that they have, that excitement as they're going to the finish, is probably a lot stronger than a random Instagram post or the live feed. Nothing wrong with either of those things, but seeing it in person is probably extremely infectious compared to just online. So I can't imagine how you could avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I hadn't even really thought about that much, which is crazy. But one of the big things was the energy at the finish line was what word would I use? Like infectious. You might have already
Hmm.
said that. You just feel it, and that's huge. Like I guess the way I would compare it, if for you or your fans, it's like whatever if you're in the NFL or MLB or whatever, you can watch the game on TV, but go in there, being like walking into the stadium, smelling like the hot dogs and everything else, and like all of that other stuff that goes around it. It definitely is a different atmosphere altogether, and I hadn't really thought about how that might have impacted me. Also, that's a
Yeah,
great
I mean
point.
it's gotta be such a powerful draw because, like you said, actually being there and being amongst it. I mean, you mentioned you were down at the finish and that motivated you to go to the running store and get those the quality pair of shoes. I don't know how people stand down there at Heritage Square and not feel some type of emotion. I mean,
Yeah.
I've finished the race or Sedona Canyons and been done, and then like 10 minutes later someone comes through and I feel it for them. You it's just this it's so powerful. Um, and you feel it on the live stream, but like we're alluding to, that in person being in Flagstaff is really it's such a special place that week, especially obviously towards the end as people are coming through. Um, so this is so cool. I mean, you're down there, you're getting inoculated to the sport, and what I've always found so impressive about your story, Dakota, is I would say, and this is not a scientific statistic as I haven't crunched the numbers, but throwing a
Yeah,
statistic out there,
it's
I
bro
would
science.
say well over 90%. Yeah, bro science. That's my favorite term. Some bro science numbers here. I would say 90% of the people who find their way to the ultra world don't go, hey, I'm going to do Cocodona. They probably
Yeah.
go, they probably say something like, wow, this is super cool. Let me see what other distances are available. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, there's a 12-mile trail run next month. I'm going to go try that out. Um, and I'm going to preface this question with a backstory from another one of my guests. I had another guest, his name is Andrew Main, and he saw, if I remember the story right, a David Goggins video and Moab,
Mhm.
and he just signed up. Like he found a sponsor and his company sponsored him and he signed up. He had no idea about gear, about anything, and that was so impressive to me. And I can't remember a timeline of when I interviewed Andrew to when I found you, but it was the same curiosity for me of when Andrew was telling me the story from when I found you because I thought, this guy Andrew goes into it. He had to go on like the Moab 240 Facebook group and be like, "Hey guys, what are these packs you guys carry?
Yeah.
Hey guys, what do we use poles for?" And everyone's like, "Who is this guy? He signed up for the race. He has no idea." I'm not saying that was you, but it's in a similar vein where he saw something and said, "I'm going to do that," and then made it happen. It wasn't the inverse where he's like, I got to figure this whole thing out. I got to have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted before I even think about signing up. It was,
Mhm.
I'm going to do that and then I'll figure it. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I have enough time to figure it out. So
Yeah.
help walk us through. You're down there. You're experiencing this infectious energy of Cocodona, and then it's
Mhm.
like I'm gonna do that. Can you walk us through that experience? Because I'm just so fascinated. I think it's the most pure version of like human tenacity that
Yeah.
what you've done. And so can you walk us through that? Because I think it's so awesome.
For sure. And I first off appreciate you like thinking so highly of me. That's awesome. I still, that's one thing I can work on is the mental aspect. But as far as like the beginning was, I was just like him. It sounds like whenever me and my girlfriend went to the finish line and everybody had their drop bags all like right there, we're like, what are all these bags? And I was like, I don't know. And then I remember seeing, I don't know if it was like people across the finish line or if it was videos, but those Lecky hand
Hmm.
things. And I would see them without the pole attached. So it's just that. And I just looked up this weird, like, fingerless glove thing,
Hmm.
which I guess it kind of is. But I was like, why are they wearing those gloves? And I had no clue about the pole. So it sounds extremely similar to like what your friend was talking about with the Moab. It was just, probably the reason why this has happened the way it has is because and I don't use this word negatively because I don't think it's always has a negative connotation, but I was so ignorant that I was crazy enough to even like say that I was going to do it. I think if I would have known more and yeah, if I would have been more educated on it, I would have been like, no way, no way. That's 10 years down the road, if ever, something like that. But I was just ignorance is bliss, and I was crazy enough to. just decide, like, first off, decide I was going to do it, and then also crazy enough to post it online, even though that I wasn't necessarily trying to grow a following. It was more for me to look back on myself. But,
Mm,
deep down, I knew that other people were going to see that, even if it was 10 or 15 people.
sure.
I felt like I was being a little brave because, like, the first night I saw that 5 people had commented, and I'm like, I didn't even want to open my phone because I was like, what did these 5 people say? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was going to be received. And luckily, this speaks to the ultra running community as a whole and how amazing it is, but it was nothing but support. Um, so, yeah, circling back to your question, I was just like him. I didn't know much of anything. I didn't even know you were supposed to size up your running shoe back then. I learned that first day.
Well,
So,
if it makes you feel any better, I just went to Forward, which is a running store a buddy of mine owns here in Mesa, and I was like, Logan, these shoes are killing me. And he's like, well, what shoes? And we talked about them, and he's like, what? Where's it rubbing? And I was showing him on my toes. He's like, dude, let's measure you. And he measured my foot. He's like, dude, you should be a 9.5. I was like, I've been running in nines for like forever. So he puts me in these 9.5 topos, and I was like, wow, these feel amazing. So I didn't know I was supposed to size up.
yeah,
I haven't been measured in years, and I've just been buying the same size. We're all learning. I mean,
yeah,
should I have gone in years ago and been like, why is my shoes wearing my feet like this? This is really weird place to. So you're in good company with a lot of those questions because we all have the same things. We're all going through the same stuff. One thing I did want to touch on is uh, this idea of the ultra community because and we visited a little bit about this when we were on Eldon, but this the community is fascinating because the I can't remember a time if there was one. I'm not saying maybe there was, but I can't remember a time where I've had negativity spread to me. I've heard other ultra runners, some of my buddies or other acquaintances, spread negativity about other people. I I can't. Maybe I just don't. It doesn't even pop into my head or register. I mean, I can't even think of a time. The ultra community is such an open space. This is the most inviting space that I've ever come across in 43 years. There I go. I gave my age away. You can't tell by my wrinkles, but 43 years. I can't think of a place that's been more inviting. Um, and like I've asked the dumbest questions. I've made the dumbest mistakes, and everyone's like, "Oh, I did that." Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Or ask a question like, "Oh, yeah, everyone was concerned about that." Or you do X, Y, and Z. You do A, B, C, and everyone's so open. I mean, I remember before my first 100 miler, I sent Zach Bitter an Instagram message, and I was like, "Hey Zach, I'm running my first 100. Do you have any advice?" He took the time to text out this huge bit of advice, and I was like,
yeah,
"I don't think you're getting that anywhere else." I mean, the majority of people, I can remember my first 100. I had a pacer lined up, and this was my really first experience with the ultra community embracing me. I had a pacer lined up, and he dropped out at the last minute. And so I just reached out to the Aravaipa Cold Water Facebook group, and I was like, "Hey, I'm running cold water this weekend. Can anyone help? I need someone to pace me." And this random guy pops into my uh, messages. He's like, "Hey, I'll pace you." And we've been like good buddies ever since. And I've paced him, and he's paced me, and back and forth. In fact, I'm going to see him this weekend. It's the most amazing community. Um, can you dive into that a little bit more on what you've experienced as you've started out on this journey? What day is it now? 77, 78?
the video I just posted, I think I'm starting to lose track of days sometimes, but yeah, it's like 75 or 76.
So
But
76 days in, can you speak on the what what the community, how you've been received in the community, and any special experiences that you felt through that in those 76 days?
yeah, I mean, for sure, kind of like what you said, I don't mean to name drop, but I'm only name dropping because I feel like it says what kind of person and what kind of community this all person they are and what kind of community this community is. Um, like for example, that first day I had been whenever we were in Heritage Square, I'd been following Andy, and I don't know, I guess I didn't realize how cool I thought he was, because then I saw him at the finish line, and I was like nervous to talk to him for whatever reason. And my girlfriend was like, just go talk to him. And he ends up being the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him I'm like, yeah, seeing all of this has like inspired me to buy my first pair of shoes and get started. And he actually gave me like, advice. And I'm like, this guy doesn't have to give me any advice right now, but he did. And then the same thing, it's just been like one person after another that are, some of the biggest people in the ultra running community, like Dan Green even reached out to me. Um, I'm going to be running, I'm going to be hitting out in again this coming up weekend with Andrea Moore, which she's a local here in Flagstaff, and she's ran the Cocodona a few times. And for
Right
me, she's
on.
like a local
She's awesome.
celebrity, at
Yeah, no,
least. Yeah.
she's awesome.
Um, just like I'm sure I'm going to forget people and not to, I don't want to forget, but um, yeah, just all these people that are just like, it would be the equivalent, like Dan Green messaging me felt like the equivalent of like the whoever just won the F1 Grand Prix messaging me, and I'm like, I just bought a Miata, I'm going to start racing. And because he set the course record on the Cocodona this year, I believe. And I'm just like, okay, how much polar opposite can you get from me to him? And he's like still supportive. I just can't think of any other place where that would happen ever. And then to another point, if anybody's ever like actually being negative in my comments, I can almost without a doubt, I can't think of a time where it was somebody that was in the community,
Hmm.
but it's that I can remember. It's never been somebody that was actually involved with it at all. They were just somebody, off not off the, somebody that was not didn't know anything about it, I guess. And then I'm like, okay, that's one thing that's helped me is all these other people that have done it, like you and Andrea and Andy and Dan are like, yeah, man, this is awesome. I support you. So I'm like, these people know something about this. These other people don't. I think I'm going to listen to the people that have actually done it because truthfully, I don't think you or anybody else would try to support somebody in something that was actually going to be like detrimental or maybe even impossible. I just don't think that would make sense. So it builds up my own like belief in that it is possible.
Yeah. No, that's one thing that I love about you and your story is I don't remember if it's a book, but the art of the possible. Like when I first came across your content, that's what rang in my mind. I was like, this guy like is living the art of the possible, where
Okay, I
you're
haven't read it, but I'm gonna need
where
to.
you're not letting other people or family, friends, random people in the comments. You've got your goal and you're focused on your goal, and and to me that's amazing because there's so many people out there, me included, in certain things that I've tried in my life where I'm like, oh, what are some people going to think when I do this? Or, before I even started this podcast, I was so nervous. I was like, what do you think, you're some influencer? Like all this like negative talk in my brain, and it took
Yeah,
me 2 years to get the guts to like post content. And
yeah,
that's why I'm like so impressed by you is that you were just like, I'm doing Cocodona. Day one, couch to Cocodona. My name's Dakota here, and I'm like, oh, this guy is a boss. And so that's, a lot of people look up to you, more, for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them too, to be frankly honest, is, you're living that, that art of the possible where you're just like, yeah, I think I could do it. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is that you think you can do it because
Yep.
that's who drives you is not idiot Brad in the comments, or even Dan Green
Yeah.
motivating, sending you a nice message. It's you and pushing forward and seeing the art of the possible. Boy, we just keep plugging that name. Sorry. The art of the, you see that possibility and you just keep pushing forward and not letting all that other noise stop you. Because, everybody has that negative self-talk. And what's impressive is I'm sure you do, just like I do, but you don't let it stop you. And
For sure.
that's incredible. Because a lot of people, it stops them, and they go, "What is my Aunt Judy gonna say?" She
Yeah.
or Frank, from work told me I couldn't run or whatever. I don't know what, making up random stuff, but it's an impressive trait. So keep exercising that muscle because it's pretty impressive. Um, so we're on day 76, and uh, you're doing Eldon again this Saturday, uh,
I think it's Sunday. This
Sunday.
weekend. Saturday or
Yeah,
Sunday. Yeah.
right on. Well, you'll be in very good company with Andrea. Um, what are you going to go for a PR like you did Saturday?
That was the craziest thing. You saw like the kind of shape I was in for whatever reason that day. Once I got to, the end and I looked at my Strava, I was like, that was my PR. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I guess I was pushing myself a little harder. Um,
And I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at your effort at all. I'm laughing because I have a feeling that you might be going back and be like, I'm going to see if I can't beat that last time. It just seems like that might be in your deck of cards.
yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about that. Um, just because, I mean, I think it probably would have came up between now and then, but given like that I was coming off of a cold and whatever else was going on with my body that caused it to be such a difficult day. I think if I'm able to go into it healthier this week, I mean, then what excuse do I have to not be faster if I'm already coming into it better?
Yeah.
Um, and especially doing it with somebody that's definitely gonna push me. I wouldn't be surprised if I did it the fastest, my personal fastest again. But
Well, I
yeah,
got to tell you, I had so much fun being up there with you, and you had a friend of yours, and we invited Roy, who was last week's guest. He lives up in Flagstaff, so it was quite the fun day. I got to tell you, driving home, I was just thinking about it. I was like, God, that was a good time. I haven't been on it like a bigger group run in a while, and I just thought, man, that was so much fun being up top together and
yeah,
I just look at desert all day. So being up in the pines and then seeing the aspens, it was just, I had so much fun being up there with you guys. It was just a blast.
definitely. That was the first time I've ever done Elden with anybody. So it was funny how it came together. First it was, me and you were meeting up and then you said, "Can I bring Roy?" And then I was like, "Well, if we're bringing other people, I'll text Allie because Allie was like, 'Hey, I'm always down to do something like that.'" And then Allie, there was another person that was gonna come, but they didn't make it. But for a second there, we're gonna have like, what was it, 5 people? And I'm like, that's a lot of people,
Yeah, more the
especially
merrier, right?
yeah, I mean, for sure.
Well,
Especially whenever
Allie was
you
a fun
get almost.
addition,
Yep.
to the crew, and she's a good pusher. Well, she's a good friend to have up there with you in training, and she
Yeah.
seems like
It's awesome.
she'd be a good person to have in your corner. Um,
Yeah.
so I know that Cocodona is obviously months and months away. So tell us a little bit more about what you have planned as far as training goes, and any races in the meantime, or that you have maybe haven't signed up for that you want to do before then? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the biggest one that I'm both nervous and excited about is I'm running my a 50K September 27th. It's the Flagstaff Sky Peaks 50K. So it's like 28 miles with 4,000, 4,100-ish feet of elevation. So it'll definitely be my biggest effort in every capacity. But I plan on so that race is in 3 weeks. I plan on making elevation like an almost daily thing, like
Mm,
so that I just because right now that's what makes me the most nervous is the 4,000 feet
yeah.
because up until then I've only done I think I'd have to look back at my Strava, but 30 something hundred feet doing Humphreys, and then
Mm,
I might have done 4,000 at Humphreys. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. And then 26 or 2,700 feet on Eldon. So it's like still a lot of elevation. Um, so yeah, I mean that's my first 50K. One thing I'm interested in is like I know it's technically an ultra, but do people still is that just like a consolidation prize to call a 50K an ultra, or
You
is
know,
that
you
something?
you gotta start somewhere. I've had this conversation with multiple people where it's like, well, can you really call it an ultra? And you've got to have a benchmark start somewhere, right? 26.2 is the marathon.
Yeah,
50K is considered the first ultra distance, right? And
gotcha.
I will tell you this. Let me just tell you a little story. I did my first 100 miler in January 2019, 2020. And I thought I was hot shot. Man, I had done a 100 miler. I was on cloud nine for weeks, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign up for the Mesquite Canyons 50K. Just, I'm just
Mhm.
bored. I'm going to do that. That 50K whooped me so bad. I haven't even checked. I could have come in almost last. I was whooped so bad. So for anyone out there, Mesquite, if you're doing the Mesquite races and you haven't done them yet, before I should say, that is a tough race. There is so much climbing, and the 100 mile I did had very well over 100 miles. It was like 70 something 100 feet, and Mesquite Canyon was like four something. I mean, it was tough and it was hot and yeah. Anyway, so don't sleep on the 50K. Do not sleep on the 50K. They're tough, man. That hats off to you for going after the 50K because look, it's all hard. Every distance is hard. Every single one of them is hard. Like if you were to say, "Hey, Christian, over the next year you have to train, you know, to do Cocodona again, or your fastest, hardest, train for your fastest, hardest 5K effort." I would be like, oh, I'll do Cocodona because I know how hard it would be to go do like an insanely fast like speed work 5K. It's like the lazy. I'm like, I'll gut out a long event. I'd rather not, kill myself with a 5K. But
Yeah,
every distance is hard, right? 5Ks are hard, 10Ks are everything is tough.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely don't discount yourself. The 50K, it's you'll feel it. It's a good distance. It's definitely. I'm excited for you, and I let the cat out of the bag on Saturday when I was gonna tell you. Uh,
oh
I was
yeah, I
gonna
forgot we're running it
Yeah, I
together.
was gonna tell you
I
on the
keep forgetting.
podcast, and then I just was so excited I let it out of the bag early. But
Yeah,
I signed up for it. I'm excited to go
yeah,
do it
that's a
with
big
you.
awesome.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm selfishly excited to get up into the pines again because it's still so stinking hot down here in Phoenix
Yeah,
area. And
it's cooled off a lot here. I just realized I haven't saved my workout. I just got done my run right before we got on
nice.
this. Um,
So I'm excited for
yeah,
that one to be there. And I know you have a pacer, So at the back end of that, you pick up your pacer. But I'm excited to go up there and run it with you. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, having my first pacer. And yeah, like actually knowing, because some of the races before, like people have known me and because of social media and stuff, but I haven't like went to a race being like, hey, I know that I'm going to be able to meet up with one of my buddies,
Yeah.
and hang out for a little bit. So it's just exciting in a lot of ways. And to kind of circle back to your question, I'm changing my training a little bit, but not too much before it, just to try to get more comfortable with climbing
Hmm.
and going up steep stuff. And then after that, the game plan is that 50K is going to be used kind of as like a litmus test for like where I'm at and where and what we want to do next and how the plan is going to change. It's just going to be like that. It's going to decide a lot
Yeah.
and and how we move forward. So right now, that's like the only thing I'm focused on. I
Nice.
have been looking like at other races, but I think there's not a huge point in me looking too far ahead whenever I don't know how this race is going to go. Um, and everything might change after it for better or for worse. So, yeah,
I
right now
think
I'm
it'll
just
land
focused on,
somewhere in the middle there.
yeah,
It's one of those things that if you go into it, well, this I'm speaking for me, but sometimes if I go into it with a lot of expectation, I'm a little bit more disappointed.
hmm
And because sometimes my expectations are ridiculous. Like
yeah,
I get there on race day and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go this pace, and I'm like, you haven't even trained for what? Like in my mind,
yeah,
I'm like, what are we talking about here? You haven't even trained at that pace. So I'm not saying you would do that. I'm just saying, for me, I've had those expectations, and I'm like, the races I've had the most fun in, where it was like, I'm just gonna go do it, and I'm not gonna set any expectations other than just go and be positive, thank the volunteers, be positive to the other runners, and just try my best. You know, and those are the most a lot of fond memories for, to be frankly honest, from those events versus the ones where I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling kind of good coming into this. Maybe I could surprise myself. It's like, what do you, no, you're gonna fall to the level of your training. You're not gonna somehow magically become some superstar athlete, at the finish, at the start line. So, but anyway,
yeah,
so that there is, I think there's some good to that where you're not focused on the next thing yet. You're really going to say, okay, the benchmark is this 50K, and I'm going to regroup after that, and then assess. That there's a lot of good to that, I think. Um, for me, I know sometimes I'm like, ooh, what's the next thing? It's like I haven't even done the thing yet. I should do the thing and then focus on something else and not you know, focus on what's in front of you and not potentially what's in 6 months. So now I
yeah.
know you'd mentioned, Dakota, you had a coach.
hmm
Um, what could without giving away trade secrets, like what are some of the training ideas that you guys are working on? I'm always so fascinated as I talk to other people who have coaches to kind of get an idea of how the different coaching styles and things like that. So kind of
Yeah.
give us, obviously don't give away trade secrets, but any kind of like just a high level overview of like what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like probably the way he is approaching coaching me and how he would approach coaching like somebody like you or anybody else that was more experienced is probably very different because it's probably like there probably maybe not aren't even any like trade secrets per se whenever it comes to my plan because like I just know his big thing was just getting to where I was running as much as possible, not necessarily distance, but like every day. That's like one thing after I had like 30 days straight, and then I had a bad day, and I'm like, all right, that streak's over. But before that, I had 0 days straight, so I'm getting more consistent
Mm,
at running. So I think that's like one of his biggest things is just being consistent, and even if the plan calls for a 6 mile long run with elevation. If, you know, something's off and you need to like take a break, quote unquote, not actually just not running at all. Still finding a way to get out and like just build that habit of being consistent and enjoying the process. Um, and then other than that, it's like things that I think everybody knows, not increasing weekly mileage too much
Mm.
every time, down mileage weeks, which I think is something that is pretty much a part of everybody's plan. Um, yeah, I think pretty much the plan for me is, and it's probably, like I said, that was the plan for this first 3 months. But it's probably going to change after this 50K now that I have built up the ability to knock out 30 or 40 miles a week on a regular basis. So yeah, it might change after that, but that's kind of been the goal this whole time is like building up that base because I can't even remember how many miles it was the first week, but it was nowhere near 37. And
Yeah.
the week I did my what was that? 30K. Um, what I think I ended up with like 37 miles or something like that. And I expected to feel trashed like the next day because, just running 3 miles had trashed me before. And the next day I got out there and I was like, oh, I feel pretty good.
Hmm.
So I think that was the whole point of the plan right now is just being able to build up to the point to where we're at now, which right now the mileages are about 35-ish miles a week. And then building up and also I don't know if I already said it, that 10% rule, like you really don't want to add more than like 10% each week because apparently that can possibly lead to injury, building up the mileage too fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard different numbers getting thrown around, but it's always around that area, not to build up too fast. And um, that's something I struggle with is consistency. So like again, when I see, you're got a 30-day running streak down, that's amazing to me. Because I make excuses. I've got kids and I've got work and I've got this and that. And it's like, no, you just didn't get up early enough. Or, oh, you just didn't go to bed. So,
yeah,
hats off to you. That's a big accomplishment. And I know that you're going to reignite that and have another streak. And
yeah.
that's, I think it's really cool because, like I said, I'm just honest and open. I struggle with consistency. So, that people like you and Roy and these other people that are, I like how Roy calls it streaking because it always,
Yeah. Whenever you first said that, I was like, what?
yeah,
What are we doing?
right, exactly. Like, am I in the wrong group?
Yeah,
So when you're streaking, it's cool. It's something that we look up to, we being people like me who struggle being consistent. And I got uh, a recommitment to myself to be more like Dakota and be more like Roy and try and better myself. So you're definitely inspiring people more than you know for sure. Uh, and I can just
uh,
speak for myself. So,
thank you. I
but
mean,
I know by the messages it's other people too. So you're doing so awesome. Uh, I think that we touched on this a little bit, but another thing I want to commend you on is how real you are with your videos and your content. It's not curated. It's not like, you've written a script or anything. You're just yourself. And I think that's something that also attracts people to what you're doing is that you're just genuine. You are who you are and you're not trying to be someone you're not. You're just Dakota. And I think in a world full of disingenuous things, we're all seeking something genuine um, to kind of latch on to. So kudos to you on that as well.
I appreciate it. And as far as the streak thing, just to touch on it briefly, like what I noticed once I got to like 14 days without
Mm,
skipping, which I didn't for a while, I would do like 2 weeks and then I would miss a day
mm,
or something. And once I saw like maybe it was probably more like 21 days. But once I saw a few on Strava, you know how it has all those dots for
Yeah.
each day that you finish, and I was like, oh, I can't let today's dot not be filled. And it started to be almost feel like a game
Yeah.
to me. Um, and then like this week, maybe this was me like kind of giving myself an excuse, but yeah, like my watch said I had uh, 72 hours of recovery, and it was like it suggested me rest, and I'm like, I'm gonna listen to the watch. I'm probably that was like the devil on my shoulder that day, and I'm like, but I do feel better, so maybe that was worth something.
I don't think any streaker or coach or anyone in the community would say, "Oh, you feel like you have the flu and you're dehydrated and you feel so sick. Should probably get out there." We're all in this to be, to help each other, to see each other succeed, see each other do this for a long period of time. I think you'd get a unanimous vote and say, "Hey, uh, if you're really feeling that way, if there's a few factors at play here, we won't get too into personal stuff, but if certain things
Yeah,
are happening with your body, take a break." We
yeah,
don't jump off the deep end, so to speak, with no water in the pool.
yeah, yeah, for sure. If you're running on fumes, you should probably stop and get gas.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it than what I said for sure. So I'm super excited about the Sky Peaks coming up. Like I said,
Yeah, me too.
selfishly, I love getting out of the valley and getting up north, but I'm really excited to run it with you. Uh, you know, little heads up, whenever you pick up a pacer, you're deep into a race. So
Hmm.
you pick up your pacer, it's like this rejuvenation. You're like, "Oh, my buddy." You pick him up and you just start going, and it's a good time. So my goal is to be there with you, and once you get your pacer, you'll be off to the races and you'll leave me in the dust. So that's my plan. I don't know what your plan is, but that's what I'd like to see. Can't wait to see you grab that pacer and finish the race. Um, but I know you don't have anything on the books, and we're focused on what's going on. But any not necessarily races, but anything else coming up in between now and Cocodona that you're excited about outside of just training and meeting new people?
Yeah, I mean, it's this is kind of the way I haven't really thought of it this way because obviously I do have the Cocodona as like the big goal.
Hmm.
And I'm saying like I'm focused on this right now. And I was like, how does that make sense? But the way it makes sense in my head is football. Like you can start out the season with, hey, our goal is to win the national championship or I'm thinking about college football,
Hmm.
um, but still like I went to Auburn and a lot of people don't like Alabama, but one of Saban's big things was always like, hey, you're just focused on this week. Like this, if you don't win this game, nothing else matters. Um, and even taking it even farther, like, hey, we're just focused on this practice. If we don't practice well, then that game's not going to go well. And so that's kind of my same thought process that I was applying without really realizing it. Um, is like, hey, I'm taking this one thing at a time. So the next thing, like, again, the progression of it, I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but like, I would really like to run a 50 miler. And then I would really like to, and my coach might watch this and start shaking his head, but I would really like to run like a 100 miler before. Um, and like so I might that might be crazy, but if as long as my coach gives me the go on those, then I'll do them. And I think that's why I think the 50K would be a good test because if I can do the 28 miles later, then maybe I can do 50 in like December, and then like 100, some other time. It's just going to depend on how everything kind of comes along. And then I guess my national championship for this season of my life would be the Cocodona.
I love it. Well, we won't do anything without coach's approval,
Yeah,
but if you do either of those longer distances and need any help, you just let me
for
know.
sure.
And I can guarantee you will not have a lack of support for Pacers or crew at any one of those events. But
Yeah,
you can put me on
awesome.
the list for sure, and I'm there. I'm down. So
Yeah, the 50 miler I have in my head right now, I believe is in December, and it's down close to you. So we'll definitely stay in touch about that.
is it Pass Mountain? No, that's in November.
I mean, if I wasn't on my phone, I probably should use my computer. I could look it up
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
okay. It's okay. Because I know there's a Pass Mountain. I think there's a 50 mile at Pass Mountain. It doesn't
Is it
matter.
Aravaipa?
Yeah.
I know it's an Aravaipa race, and so it might be in November instead of December. But I just knew it was end of the year kind of time frame.
Well, it's beautiful down here finally at that time of the year, so come on
Yeah,
down.
yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm serious. You punch my ticket. I'm ready to help when
That's
whatever I
awesome.
can. Again, coach, with your approval. We're not scheming behind your back. With coach's approval, I'll definitely jump in and help you with any way I can.
I really appreciate it,
You
and
bet.
I'm not sure how I could help you, but the same thing.
You know what?
I really,
You've inspired. You've given me inspiration. You're helping others. You reference the community. This is the community. I mean, there's no other way around it. You found yourself into a little family, whether you
yep,
like it or not.
stumbled into it.
Yeah,
And
for
those
sure.
are sometimes the best relationships are
Yeah,
the ones that just happen,
the organic ones,
yeah,
for sure.
organically.
Well, listen, Dakota, I know it's getting late, and you've been so generous with your time, and it was so much fun up in Flagstaff with you on Mount Eldon. One thing I do with my guests is I send them a gift from Death March Running Company. So I actually had it
Yeah.
to do the when we were gonna do the interview. So I'll just mail it to you. Uh,
Okay.
uh, I'll get your address offline, and I'll just mail it to you, and that way you'll have it. But it's just a way of me saying thank you. I appreciate your time and everything you're doing, and just keep it up. So that I like to do that for you. But anything else you want to say? Maybe a shout out or any last words you want to share with everybody before we jump off?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, this isn't, I guess, necessarily like a direct shout out, but like I say in all my videos, and there's a reason why I say it, or at least in most of my videos, is like, thank you to everyone who's tagged along. Thank you to you for having me on. Thank you for all the other podcasts. Like it's been truly unbelievable, and it just continues to be unbelievable. And I've said before that I don't feel like I um, necessarily deserve it, but I'm thankful for it. And yeah, it's just such an awesome thing to be a part of. That's almost how I feel like this isn't, I'm just a part of this too. And we're just kind of doing this together. And yeah, just thank you to everyone. Hopefully that's not too corny, but
No, not at all.
that's how I feel.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, that you're genuine. That's what people like. You're just being real and honest, and I'm also grateful for you too. Thank you for those kind words, and I know that everybody feels the same way. I've had multiple guests on, and your Instagram has been brought up, so I know that you're definitely the Dakota tentacles are getting out there into the interwebs for sure, and you're inspiring a ton of people, and yeah, so that's awesome, and excited to keep following along, keep up the good work, and just keep being positive, and all those haters. I know you mentioned you have some haters. We'll just ignore them. They can just remain blocked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I really appreciate it. This is awesome, and appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, Dakota. Thanks again for being so generous with